Hello and welcome to another update video about Natgas. On the Natgas chart, we completed our 5-wave move to the downside here. Only in yesterday's video, I highlighted to you that what we are doing here might simply be an extended ABC correction or ABC structure within the third wave. So basically that with this low here, maybe we now have that B wave finally in place. Let me explain. First of all, bigger picture, very important to understand, is that we are likely in this ABC correction. I'm sure you can't see that anymore. I'm sure you can't watch that anymore because it hasn't changed for months. Okay, so our base case has been absolutely correct for the last few months. Yeah, slight upside in an ascending channel. Yeah, within an ending diagonal structure. Ending diagonal because the C wave here moves in very choppy structures. We're counting it as an ending diagonal. Might be that I changed it at some point, but at the moment it just follows very nicely the characteristics of a so-called ending diagonal, which means it's just very choppy, very slow price action, a lot of up and down, a lot of headwinds. Price is basically doing exactly what I told you it would do, which means it's choppy. It's moving in this range. It's moving slightly higher. It's not very aggressive movement to the upside because it's not impulsive. We have to prepare for frequent changes of the micro counts. It's doing all of that, okay? I had a comment, it's quite funny. I had a comment in the last video that everybody who's following the wave count here with leverage or whatever would have been liquidated many times or whatever, wiped out their portfolio. Well, see a few comments. First of all, very important. The analysis is, of course, no replacement for good trading skills. Yeah. So this here is just a tool, but you still need to have trading skills. So if you have trading skills, you wouldn't be wiped out. Second, you would typically not trade with leverage. At least I wouldn't. Yeah. Trade with leverage within an ending diagonal. I mean, Elliott wave, I told you that in an ending diagonal structure, first of all, smaller position sizes might be adequate because you have to expect those headwinds, or leaving the trades a little bit more space. Well, that's sort of related, isn't it? Because if you leave your trades a bit more space, which means you set the stop loss further away, you have to reduce the position size to minimize the risk. So that's one thing. So in that scenario, you wouldn't trade with leverage. Yeah, you just wouldn't. I mean, from an Elliott wave point of view, you wouldn't really trade leverage until you are in an impulse and have multiple confirmations on multiple time frames and degrees that a trend is rallying or a trend is started. This is not a trend. I mean, we're in a sideways correction, okay? So how you would trade this with leverage, yeah, without blowing your portfolio, I understand. It wouldn't be possible. You wouldn't do that, okay? So, I mean, that's related to trading skills. This is not so much related to the analysis. You always need to see these as separate. The analysis can say one thing. Now, it could still be that from a trading point of view, you might do the complete opposite as a hedge because it might fit your strategy. It's so important to understand. This is just a tool. I'm highlighting the relevant pivots, the relevant levels. But most importantly, the chart has been doing exactly what we wanted for the last few weeks and months. It is slow. It's a diagonal structure. It's choppy. We have to expect those changes of the microstructures because we're dealing with diagonals. What are diagonals? Well, they are, especially in this case, a C wave. An ending diagonal consists of 5 waves. Each subwave is an ABC structure, which means that each subwave consists at least of one B wave. B waves are the most difficult waves to forecast in Elliott wave. All of that knowledge, you've got it here. Yeah, you've got it here presented to you. So just be careful with this, and in these situations, trading within a diagonal, you get your stops hit a lot of times. That's just what it is because we're not in an impulse, okay? Now, of course, you need to understand that, but I often explain the structural differences between a diagonal and an impulse. That's one thing. How do you deal with that then? Well, you could deal with it by just trading a different time frame. You could just trade the larger time frame, which is much clearer. Or you could just zoom in and try to trade the very small time frame, but then the analysis wouldn't help you really because things change so quickly. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just to explain that really, that of course, you would not really trade very aggressively with leverage within a diagonal structure. It is difficult, yeah. So yeah, it's what it is, biggest advantage, or biggest, well, no, not advantage, but one very important aspect to many people neglect is not, or knowing what not to trade is at least as important as knowing what to trade. So, if it doesn't fit your strategy, you don't want to trade every single wave. You don't need to trade every single wave. I mean, here on this chart, we're basically tracking patterns. Unless you're really a range trader, I mean, this is not really anything attractive at the moment. Yeah, I'm still tracking it to understand when the trend is shifting, when we're finally getting back to that new low that we're still waiting for. And again, most price action in charts does not really demand any action from us as traders or investors. Yeah, so basically, it's really only when we are looking at or identifying a very reliable trade setup that a chart demands action from us. Most of the time it's just waiting and tracking structures to identify trade setups. I can tell you I don't see a highly reliable trade setup here. Down here we had one where we expected a C wave to rally higher. Now we're sort of in the midst of that run. I mean, unless you really try to trade the smallest time frames, but that's up to you. Again, we are within a diagonal, so things are difficult. What else is there to highlight? I don't think anything else. So yeah, just be aware of the difference between analysis and trading. Yeah, it's a big mistake of everybody out there, or many people out there, yeah, that they try to trade every single wave, whereas it is not about trading the waves. It's about trading the pivot points that the wave structures identify. Yeah, what they bring forward. It's the pivot points. The closer you can trade towards a pivot, the lower the risk. For example, we've got one here at $2.14, which is our invalidation point for this move higher. The closer the price is to that level, the higher the reward to risk ratio to the upside, okay? Also now here, I mean, we've now reached in this potential B wave, the lower boundary line of the trend channel. I mean, there's certainly some good space to the top boundary of that price channel. I mean, at the moment in this C wave, we're looking for a 5-wave structure. It looks to me as if we have completed only a 1-2. We could be in this third wave, which again consists of an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave. Now, if you really want a more or less reliable trade setup, you have to wait for the first 1-2 setup in the C wave. So basically 5 waves up, 3 waves down. And then you can scale into this wave 2 to trade the third wave. Now, that's again on a small time frame, so it might be hard to see. But we are very close. We're very deep in support now. Price was oversold on the 4-hour, but we talked about that in yesterday's video. It's now recovered a bit. Daily time frame in the bearish range. Okay, it's not far down, so we don't even have a bullish divergence. So yeah, I mean, we are at the lower end of a trend channel, of a price channel. Highlighted to you also from a resistance point of view that a break above this sort of trend line here, which would be now at around 265, would be a first piece of evidence that this C wave higher has started. Target for the C wave, again, it's just a bit speculative at the moment, but rough target for the C wave from here. And I cannot rule out that the B wave will extend further down. Yeah, that's absolutely possible. But obviously we're sitting at a support now. Well, I would say the minimum you would expect here is $3.18, the 1-to-1 ratio. So yeah, that's my update about Natgas. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.